The entity arrived at the Korvath border station, exactly when Dr. Chai had predicted. And Varric watched from the command station as the feed showed, something that defied his understanding of reality. It was not a fleet in any sense he recognized. It was darkness given form. A void that moved through space like a living shadow, consuming light and matter and energy wherever it passed. And from within that darkness came shapes that might have been ships, or might have been something far worse. The Golvathi defense fleet opened fire immediately, their weapons blazing with the full fury of a species fighting for survival. And their shots vanished into the darkness without any visible effect. Then the screaming began. The psychic species felt it first. The Golvathi crews crying out as something reached into their minds and began to feed. And Counselor Mirith collapsed to her knees with her hands pressed against her temples as echoes of their agony washed across the psychic web that connected her people. It is consuming them, she gasped. I can feel them dying, one by one, and there is nothing they can do to stop it. The Golvathi ships began to drift, their crews dead or dying, their systems failing as the entity drained the very energy that powered them. 3 Council border fleets arrived as reinforcement, the finest vessels the galaxy could produce, and they lasted less than an hour before joining the debris field of the fallen. Where are the humans? Elder Cassix demanded. Where is this fleet they promised, Admiral? Rue responded without taking her eyes from the tactical display. Waiting. Waiting for what? For everyone to die. Waiting for the entity to commit fully to its attack, to extend itself into Council space where we can engage it properly. The entity continued its advance, consuming station after station, world after world, leaving only empty husks where thriving civilizations had existed hours before. And then, when it seemed that nothing could stop the spreading darkness, the stars began to light up with new signatures. Human ships emerged from concealed positions throughout the battle zone, not from behind the entity, but from within the space it had already consumed, hidden in the debris fields and dead zones where the darkness had already passed. We do not fight the way you fight, Admiral Rue explained. We do not meet the enemy head-on and test our strength against theirs. We wait. We hide. We strike from angles they do not expect. Captain Hana Yoon's voice came over the command channel, calm and focused despite the chaos around her. All wings. Commence attack pattern Sigma. Target the density nodes. Ignore the outer darkness and strike for the core. The human fleet moved with a coordination that seemed impossible. Thousands of ships acting as a single organism, weaving through the entity's tendrils and striking at points that the Council sensors had not even identified as significant. And for the first time since the battle began, the entity reacted with something other than hunger. It screamed. The sound was not physical, could not have been physical in the vacuum of space. But everyone who heard it understood that they were witnessing something that had not felt pain in billions of years. Suddenly discovering that it could be hurt, the precursors identified the density nodes as the entity's primary processing centers, Dr. Chai explained, her voice tight with barely contained emotion. Destroy enough of them and the entity loses cohesion. It becomes vulnerable. Human ships died by the hundreds, consumed by darkness or torn apart by forces that had destroyed civilizations. But for every ship that fell, 2 more took its place. And the assault never wavered. Captain Yoon led her wing directly into the heart of the entity, her ship's systems failing one by one as the darkness tried to consume her. And at the last moment she triggered her vessel's core overload. The explosion lit up the void like a new star, and the entity's central mass shattered into 1,000 fragments, but it was not dead, even as Varric watched. The fragments began to reform, the darkness pulling itself back together with mindless determination. And he understood that this battle was far from over. We cannot destroy it, Admiral Rue admitted. We never expected to destroy it, but we can hurt it, we can slow it. We can buy time for the galaxy to prepare. Prepare for what? Varric asked. For the war that has just begun. The entity reformed and retreated, pulling back toward the galactic rim with its wounded core protected by layers of darkness. And the human fleet did not pursue. They had won the battle. But the cost was staggering. Varric looked at the casualty reports and saw that nearly a third of humanity's hidden fleet had been destroyed. Thousands of ships and tens of thousands of lives sacrificed in defense of species that had dismissed them as irrelevant. Councilor Merith approached Ambassador Park with tears streaming down her face. Your people died for mine, she said. Humans who had never met a Korvathi gave their lives so that my people might survive. Why? Ambassador Park looked at her with eyes that held exhaustion and grief, and something that Varric could only describe as purpose. Because that is what we were made to do, she said. And because it was right, General Quan called for attention, and the command station fell silent as he prepared to address the galaxy. This message is being broadcast to every council world and every species with the capability to receive it, he said. Today, humanity revealed what we have hidden for 3 centuries. We did not hide because we wanted to deceive you. We hid because we were not ready, because you were not ready, because the truth was too terrible to share without proof. He gestured toward the displays showing the retreating entity. Now you have proof. The enemy that destroyed the precursors is real. It is here, and it will return. Humanity cannot defeat it alone. No single species can, but together, with the knowledge we have gathered and the preparations we have made, we have a chance. Ambassador Park stepped forward to continue. Earth is not asking for leadership or dominion or control, she said. We are asking for partnership. We are offering everything we have learned. Every weapon we have developed, every strategy we have devised, in exchange for the one thing we cannot provide ourselves, the combined strength of a galaxy united against a common threat. Varric found himself standing before he consciously decided to move, his voice carrying across the command station. The Threllian people stand with humanity, he said. We doubted you. We dismissed you. We were wrong. Let our past blindness be buried, and let us face the future together, one by one. The council delegates added their voices, pledging the support of their species to the alliance that humanity was offering. Elder Kasich spoke last, her ancient voice heavy with the weight of witnessed history. The precursors chose well, she said. They created a species that would fight for others, that would sacrifice everything for a galaxy that gave them nothing. Humanity has proven itself worthy of the trust that was placed in them billions of years ago. Ambassador Park allowed herself a small smile, the first genuine expression Varric had seen from her since the inspection began. We did not want to be warriors, she said. We did not choose this burden, but we accepted it because someone had to. And now we ask you to stand with us, not because we demand it, but because the galaxy has a right to defend itself. The entity had been driven back but not destroyed, wounded but not killed, and somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, it was already healing, already preparing for its next assault. But for the first time in billions of years, it would not face its prey alone. An unprepared Earth had revealed its secret. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, and the war for the survival of all intelligent life had truly begun. The Council finally saw what Earth had been hiding, and what they saw was hope. The red light from the crystal pillar painted everything in shades of warning, and Varric watched in stunned silence as the humans around him transformed before his eyes. Ambassador Park's diplomatic demeanor vanished in an instant, replaced by something harder and more focused. And Commander Seong Jin was already speaking into a communication device in rapid human language, issuing orders that Varric could not understand but recognized as military commands. Dr. Chai moved to a control station built into the archive's walls, her fingers dancing across interfaces that blended precursor technology with human modifications. And data began streaming across multiple displays, showing sensor readings from across the galaxy. The signal originated from beyond the galactic rim, she reported, her voice calm despite the urgency of the situation. Preliminary analysis suggests a fleet-scale presence moving at faster-than-light speeds toward Council space. How long until arrival? Ambassador Park asked. At current trajectory, the Vanguard will reach the outer colonies within 48 standard hours. Councilor Mirith grabbed Varek's arm with trembling fingers. Her Salvani features pale with fear. We need to contact the Council immediately, she said. We need to warn them. To mobilize the defense fleets. Your defense fleets will be useless, Commander Seong-jin said without looking up from his communication device. The entity does not fight the way you understand fighting. It consumes psychic energy and feeds on technological signatures. The more advanced your weapons, the faster it will find you. Elder Kasich stepped forward, her ancient authority reasserting itself despite the chaos around them. You speak of this entity as if you know its capabilities, she said. Yet you claim it has not been seen in billions of years. How can you be certain of anything? Dr. Chai pulled up records on the central display. Images and data that the precursors had left behind. Recordings of worlds burning and civilizations falling and something vast and dark moving through the void between stars. The precursors documented everything, she said. Every battle they fought, every weapon they tried, every failure and every small victory. They knew they could not win. So they left instructions for those who might come after. And those instructions led to this. Varek gestured at the humans around them. At the hidden facility, at all the secrets Earth had kept. Unauthorized genetic modification of an entire species. Military development far beyond your reported capabilities. Deception of the Galactic Council for 2 centuries. Yes, Ambassador Park said simply, these are crimes against galactic law. They are. You could face dissolution as a species. Forced sterilization. Cultural erasure. Ambassador Park finally turned to face him fully. And in her eyes, Varek saw something that made him take an involuntary step backward. She was not afraid of him. She was not afraid of the council or its laws, or any punishment they might impose. She was a woman who had spent her entire life preparing for an enemy that had destroyed civilizations beyond counting. And the threat of bureaucratic consequences meant nothing compared to that weight. Counselor Varek, she said, her voice steady. In approximately 48 hours, something is going to arrive in council space that has been killing intelligent life since before this galaxy formed. It will consume your psychic species first, feeding on their mental energy until nothing remains. Then it will move to your technological civilizations, using their own systems against them. And finally, it will hunt down every remaining trace of intelligent life until the galaxy is as empty as the precursors left it. She took a step closer to him. You can arrest us. You can put us on trial. You can punish humanity for every law we have broken. But none of that will matter if we are all dead. So I suggest you save your legal concerns for after we survive what is coming. Before Varek could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the archive. And Commander Seong-jin looked up from his device with an expression that might have been anticipation. All stations are reporting ready, he said. Earth defense grid is active. Orbital platforms are armed. And the fleet is preparing to launch. What fleet? Elder Kasich demanded. Earth is no fleet worthy of the name, Commander Seong-jin smiled. And it was not a pleasant expression. Earth has the fleet we showed the Council, he said. And Earth has the fleet we did not. He led them to a viewing station where screens displayed feeds from across the Sol system. And Varek felt his understanding of humanity shatter, completely, as he watched what emerged from hidden bases on moons and asteroids and the dark spaces between planet ships. Thousands of them, designs that bore no resemblance to standard galactic engineering. Hulls that absorbed sensor readings instead of reflecting them, weapon systems that Varric could not identify, and crews that moved with the synchronized precision of a single organism. "We have been building for 3 centuries," Ambassador Park said. "Every resource we could spare, every mind we could dedicate, every generation that understood the burden passed down from those who came before. The Council would have detected this level of industrial activity," Varric protested. But even as he spoke, he knew the words were hollow. "The Council sees what it expects to see," Dr. Chai replied. "And it expected to see a primitive species struggling to meet basic galactic standards. We gave them exactly that image, while building our true capabilities in places they never thought to look." Counselor Merith was staring at the displays with tears streaming down her face. "My people are psychic," she whispered. "The Selvani have cultivated mental abilities for 100,000 years. If what you say is true, we will be among the first consumed." Ambassador Park placed a hand on her shoulder with surprising gentleness. "That is why we are going to fight," she said. "Not for Earth, not for humanity, but for every species in this galaxy that cannot protect itself against what is coming." "Why?" Varric asked, the question torn from him against his will. "Why would you sacrifice your own advancement, your own future, to protect species that have dismissed and ignored you?" Ambassador Park looked at him with an expression that he could not read. Something between pity and determination. "Because someone had to," she said. "And because the precursors believed that humans were capable of something that every other species in the galaxy has lost." "What is that?" "Hope," she said. "Not the hope that comes from strength or technology or numbers, but the hope that refuses to die even when everything else is lost." The precursors looked across billions of years of possibility and saw that humans, alone among all the species they could create, would never stop fighting, would never surrender, would never accept extinction as inevitable. She turned back to the displays showing humanity's hidden fleet. "They may have been right," she said. "Or they may have been wrong, but either way, we're about to find out." General Taehyun Kwan's voice came over the communication system, addressing all stations across Earth's defense network, all forces. "This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Enemy contact expected within 48 hours. All personnel to battle stations. Earth stands ready." And as Varric watched the humans prepare for a war that the rest of the galaxy did not even know was coming, he realized that he had been wrong about everything. Earth had never been hiding weakness. Earth had been hiding strength beyond anything the Council could imagine, and now, for better or worse, that strength was about to be revealed. Counselor Varric had served on the Galactic Council for nearly 300 years, and in all that time, he had never once thought about Earth. The small blue world existed at the edge of his awareness, like a minor footnote in a vast library. Something registered but never truly considered. A planet of no particular importance that had joined the galactic community 2 centuries ago and had done nothing remarkable since. Humans were adequate. The Council had decided long ago. And adequate was not a word that invited further investigation. They possessed no exceptional technology, no psionics worth mentioning, no physical traits that set them apart from a dozen other bipedal species scattered across the galaxy. And their homeworld sat in an unremarkable corner of an unremarkable spiral arm. Varric would have continued ignoring Earth entirely if not for a routine audit that crossed his desk on an otherwise ordinary morning. The numbers did not match. Earth reported minimal orbital infrastructure. Yet energy readings from that sector suggested something far more substantial. And when Varric pulled the historical data, he found that no Council representative ever actually visited humanity's homeworld. Every inspection had been conducted remotely, every report submitted by humans themselves, and every request for direct observation had been politely declined with excuses about quarantine protocols or cultural sensitivities. 200 years of membership. And the council had never set foot on Earth. Varek brought his concerns to the full council chamber, where 12 representatives from the galaxy's dominant species listened with varying degrees of interest and skepticism. "You wish to waste resources investigating humans," Elder Kasich said. Her ancient Varan features twisted with amusement. "Because their paperwork seems inconsistent. I wish to conduct a standard inspection," Varek replied, keeping his voice calm, which should have occurred decades ago. The vote passed narrowly, more out of procedural obligation than genuine curiosity, and within a cycle, a delegation of 12 council members boarded a diplomatic vessel bound for the Sol system. Ambassador Una Park met them at the edge of Earth's orbital space, her small shuttle docking with their cruiser before they could proceed further. She was a composed woman with dark hair pulled back from her face and eyes that revealed nothing of her thoughts. And she greeted them with perfect diplomatic courtesy while somehow making it clear that their presence was unexpected and unwelcome. "The Council honors Earth with this visit," she said, the words technically correct but carrying an undertone that Varek could not quite identify. "And we will do everything possible to accommodate your inspection. We require access to all orbital facilities and planetary installations." Varek said, "Of course, including military assets." Ambassador Park's expression did not change, but something shifted behind her eyes. "Our military assets are modest," she said, "but you are welcome to review them." The delegation descended toward Earth with Ambassador Park's shuttle leading the way, and Varek watched through the viewport as the planet grew larger. He had seen thousands of worlds across his long career, but something about Earth made him uneasy in a way he could not explain, a feeling that intensified when they passed through the orbital defense grid. The grid was extensive, far more extensive than anything in Earth's official reports, with weapons platforms and sensor arrays arranged in overlapping fields that would make any approach to the planet extremely difficult. Commander Xiang Jin, the military officer assigned to escort them, explained that the installations were merely defensive precautions against asteroid impacts. But Varek noticed how the weapons tracked their shuttle as they passed, and he noticed that none of those weapons were pointed at the sky. They were pointed outward, toward the stars. The surface inspection revealed little of interest. Cities that matched galactic standards, infrastructure that seemed neither advanced nor primitive, and humans who went about their daily lives with the same mundane concerns as any other species. But Varek had not survived 3 centuries on the council by accepting what he was shown on the second day of the inspection. He demanded access to Earth-classified facilities, and when Ambassador Park listed the available options, he noticed one conspicuous absence. "What about the Pacific installation?" he asked. The ambassador's composure cracked for just a moment, a flicker of something that might have been fear or might have been resignation crossing her features before she recovered. "That facility is not relevant to council interests," she said. "I will decide what is relevant." The argument lasted for hours, with Ambassador Park citing security concerns and cultural protocols and a dozen other excuses that Varek dismissed one after another. And when she finally ran out of deflections, she made a call on a private channel and spoke in rapid human language to someone whose voice Varek could not hear when she ended the call. Her face was pale. "The council delegation will be granted access to the archive," she said. And the way she spoke the word made it sound less like a name and more like a warning. Commander Xiang Jin led them to a submersible vessel that descended through the Pacific Ocean for nearly an hour, passing through layers of increasingly sophisticated security checkpoints that seemed designed to stop something far more dangerous than curious diplomats. The pressure outside the vessel grew immense, and the darkness of the deep ocean pressed against the viewports like a living thing. When they finally reached their destination, Varric understood why the humans had tried so hard to keep them away. The facility was enormous, a structure that stretched across the ocean floor for kilometers in every direction, built from materials that did not match any human architectural style, and covered in symbols that Varric recognized with a shock that nearly stopped his heart. Precursor script. The precursors were legend, the ancient civilization that had seeded life across the galaxy billions of years ago before vanishing without explanation. And their artifacts were among the rarest and most valuable objects in existence. Yet here, hidden beneath the waters of an unremarkable planet, sat a precursor installation larger than any ever discovered. How long have you known about this? Varric demanded. Ambassador Park looked at him with an expression that held no apology and no shame. 300 years, she said. Since before we ever reached the stars, since before we knew that other species existed, since before we understood what we had found or what it meant. The submersible docked with the ancient structure, and the delegation stepped into a corridor that should not have existed. And Varric realized that everything he thought he knew about humanity was wrong. They were not the unremarkable species the Council had dismissed for 2 centuries. They were something else entirely, something that had been hiding in plain sight. And as they walked deeper into the archive, Varric felt the weight of that hidden truth pressing down on him like the ocean above. He was about to learn what Earth had been hiding, and some part of him suspected that he would never look at humans the same way again. The Council delegation was transported to Earth's orbital command station, a massive structure that had been hidden in plain sight as a civilian research platform for the past century. From the observation deck, Varric could see the full scope of humanity's deception spread out before him like a map of broken trust. Ships continued to emerge from concealed positions throughout the Sol system, forming into battle groups with practiced efficiency. And supply vessels moved between stations distributing weapons and equipment that bore no resemblance to anything. In the galactic catalog, Admiral G1 Ru commanded the orbital station from a central platform surrounded by holographic displays showing fleet positions and enemy approach vectors. She was a small woman with gray-streaked hair and eyes that had seen things Varric could not imagine, and she acknowledged the Council delegation's presence with a brief nod before returning her attention to the preparations. "You are building a fleet to attack Council space," Varric accused. Unable to contain his suspicions, despite everything he had witnessed, General Quan, who had joined them on the station, turned to face him with an expression of tired patience. "Every ship you see is designed for defense," he said. "Our weapons are optimized against the entity's weaknesses, not against Council species. Our armor is built to resist psychic assault, not energy weapons. If we wanted to conquer the galaxy, we would have built an entirely different fleet." "How are we supposed to believe that?" "You are not supposed to believe anything. You are supposed to observe and draw your own conclusions, which is what you should have done 200 years ago instead of dismissing us as unimportant." Dr. Chai appeared with updated data from the archive, her face grim as she projected it onto the main display. "We have completed analysis of the incoming signal," she reported. "The entity is using a standard approach pattern documented in precursor records. Scout elements first to assess resistance, followed by consumption waves that target the highest concentrations of psychic and technological activity." "The Council Beacon Network?" Elder Kasich said, understanding dawning on her ancient features. "Correct. The beacons that allow faster-than-light communication across the galaxy are essentially a dinner bell. They broadcast the locations of your most advanced civilizations directly to anything that knows how to listen. We built those beacons to unite the galaxy, Counselor Mirith whispered. "And you succeeded," Dr. Chai replied. "Unfortunately, you also made yourselves visible to something that should never have found you." Admiral Ru called for attention, and the observation deck fell silent as she addressed it. "Assembled officers and council delegation. First contact with enemy scout elements is expected in 36 hours at the Korvath border station," she said. "The Korvathi are a psychic species with limited military capability. If the entity follows documented patterns, they will be the first target. We must warn them," Mirith said. "We must tell them to evacuate." "Evacuate to where?" General Quan asked. "The entity moves faster than any ship in the Council fleet. If the Korvathi run, they will simply die tired." "Then, what do you suggest?" "We suggest that the Council allow us to do what we have spent 3 centuries preparing to do." He pulled up tactical displays showing the positioning of Earth's hidden fleet. "Human ships will intercept the enemy at Korvath before they can reach the civilian population. Our vessels are designed to operate without psychic signatures and with minimal technological emissions. We will be difficult for the entity to detect and even more difficult to consume. Your ships are not Council registered," Varric pointed out. "Deploying them in Council space without authorization is an act of war." Admiral Ru turned to face him, and her eyes held a coldness that made Varric regret his words. "Counselor," she said, "in approximately 36 hours, something is going to attack a Council world and kill every living being on it. You can either authorize our deployment and give your people a chance to survive, or you can refuse and watch them die while debating procedure." "She is right," Elder Kasich said, surprising everyone including herself. "I have studied the precursors my entire life. I have seen what they were capable of, and I have seen the fear in their final records. If something could frighten a civilization that spanned the galaxy for billions of years, we should be grateful that anyone is willing to stand against it." The other council delegates began to murmur among themselves, and Varric saw the balance of opinion shifting. Mirith spoke next, her voice small but steady. "My people will be among the first consumed," she said, "and I would rather trust the species that has been secretly protecting us than the procedures that left us vulnerable." One by one, the council delegates voiced their agreement, until only Varric remained undecided. He looked at the humans around him, at the fleet they had built in secret, at the soldiers who stood ready to die defending species that had dismissed them as insignificant. "Why should we trust you?" he asked Ambassador Park. "After everything you have hidden, every lie you have told, why should we believe that your intentions are what you claim?" Ambassador Park met his gaze without flinching. "Because we did not have to tell you anything," she said. "We could have let the entity destroy the Council and then emerged to pick up the pieces. We could have used our hidden strength to conquer a weakened galaxy. We could have done 1,000 things that would have served our own interests at the expense of everyone else." She gestured toward the fleet visible through the observation windows. "Instead, we are asking permission to sacrifice our own people in defense of yours. We are revealing secrets that we have kept for centuries because we believe that the galaxy deserves a chance to survive. You do not have to trust us, Counselor. You simply have to decide whether you would rather face what is coming alone or with allies who have prepared for this moment their entire existence." Varric closed his eyes and thought of his own world, of the billions of Threllians who had no idea what was approaching, of the children who would never grow up if he made the wrong choice. "Authorize the deployment," he said, finally, "and may whatever gods still listen have mercy on us all." Admiral Ru began issuing orders immediately, and the hidden fleet of humanity began its movement toward Council Space. General Quan approached Varric with something that might have been respect in his expression. "You made the right choice," he said. "I made the only choice." Varric replied, "Now show me that it was not in vain." Quan nodded and turned to address the council delegation. "If you wish to truly understand what humanity has become," he said, "then stay and watch, see what 3 centuries of preparation and sacrifice have built, and decide for yourselves whether the species you dismissed was ever what you believed it to be." Varric looked at the fleet moving through the void. Thousands of ships crewed by humans who had trained their entire lives for this battle. And he realized that he was witnessing the end of one era and the beginning of another. Whatever happened next, the galaxy would never be the same. The corridors of the archive stretched before them like the veins of some vast, sleeping creature. And Varric found himself struggling to process what his eyes were showing him. The walls pulsed with a soft blue light that seemed to respond to their presence, growing brighter as they approached and dimming as they passed, as if the structure itself was aware of them and guiding them deeper into its depths. Ambassador Park walked ahead with the confidence of someone who had traveled these halls many times before. And beside her moved a human woman in a simple white coat whose name was Dr. Minseo Chai. "The archive was discovered in 1847 by your calendar," Dr. Chai explained as they walked, her voice carrying the patient tone of someone who had given this explanation before, when a deep-sea earthquake exposed part of the structure to the ocean floor. "That is before humans had space travel," Elder Kasich said, her worn features twisted with disbelief. "Before you had any contact with galactic civilization, correct? And you kept it secret for all this time." Deshai did not answer directly, instead gesturing toward an opening in the corridor that led to a vast chamber filled with rows upon rows of preservation tanks. Inside each tank floated a specimen, creatures of every shape and size, some that Varric recognized as members of current council species, and many that he had never seen before. The precursors were collectors, Dr. Chai said, and this facility was one of their greatest repositories. A library of genetic material and cultural artifacts from thousands of civilizations stretching back billions of years. Counselor Mirith, the youngest member of the delegation, pressed her Selvani hand against one of the tanks and stared at the creature within. "This species has been extinct for 60 million years, she whispered. "We have only fossils of them, fragments and guesses. And here they float as if they might wake at any moment. The preservation technology is beyond anything we can replicate," Dr. Chai admitted. "But we have learned much from studying it." She led them through chamber after chamber, each one containing wonders that would have consumed the attention of galactic scientists for centuries. Star charts showing the galaxy as it existed in ages past. Tools and weapons built from materials that did not exist in nature. And records of civilizations that had risen and fallen long before the council was born. Elder Kasich stopped before a wall covered in precursor script, her ancient eyes moving across the symbols with growing recognition. "I have spent my life studying precursor artifacts," she said, her voice unsteady. "And in all that time, I have never seen more than fragments, never more than hints of their language and culture. Yet here on this single wall is more text than exists in all the council archives combined. We have translated most of it," Dr. Chai said. "You have translated precursor script. It took us nearly 2 centuries. But yes," Varric felt his earlier unease transform into something closer to alarm as he began to understand the scope of what humanity had accomplished in secret. The knowledge they had gained, the capabilities they had developed, all while presenting themselves to the council as a minor species of no particular importance. "Why?" he demanded. "Why hide all of this? Why pretend to be less than you are? Why lie to the council for 200 years? Ambassador Park turned to face him, and for the first time since their meeting, she allowed her diplomatic mask to slip. "Because we tried to tell you the truth once," she said, 50 years after first contact. "We approached the council with evidence of the archive and requested assistance in studying it. I have no record of such a request, because it was dismissed without consideration. Humanity was too young, too primitive, too unimportant to have discovered something so significant. The council decided we were either lying for attention or suffering from some collective delusion. And they refused to investigate further. Dr. Chai continued walking, leading them toward a central chamber that glowed with an intensity that made Varric shield his eyes. After that rejection, we decided to continue our research alone, she said. And what we discovered changed everything we thought we knew about the galaxy and our place within it. The central chamber was dominated by a single structure, a pillar of crystal that rose from floor to ceiling and pulsed with inner light. And carved into its surface was a message in precursor script that Chai translated for them in a voice that carried the weight of 3 centuries of preparation. Warning to all who come after. She read, "We who built this place are the last of our kind, and we leave this record so that our fate might not become yours. Something comes from beyond the edge of creation, something that feeds on thought and technology and life itself. We could not stop it. We could only run and hide and prepare for those who might follow." The chamber fell silent as the delegation absorbed the meaning of those words. The precursors did not simply vanish. Ambassador Park said, "They were destroyed, hunted down, and consumed by something that has existed since before the stars were born. Something that is still out there, waiting." "And Earth?" Varric asked, already knowing the answer and dreading it. "Earth was built as a refuge," Dr. Chai said. "A hidden place where life could grow and develop until it was ready to face what the precursors could not. And humanity was designed to be the guardians of that refuge. The final line of defense for the galaxy." Elder Cassix made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been a cry of despair. "You are saying that humans are weapons," she said, "created by the precursors to fight their ancient enemy." "We are saying that we were given a purpose," Ambassador Park replied, "and we have spent 3 centuries preparing to fulfill it." She gestured to Dr. Chai, who manipulated controls on the crystal pillar, and suddenly the chamber filled with data. Genetic sequences and training protocols and modification procedures that revealed the full extent of humanity's secret transformation. "We have been changing ourselves," Dr. Chai explained, "slowly and carefully over generations, enhancing the traits that the precursors identified as necessary for survival against the entity they feared. Faster reflexes, stronger pattern recognition, resistance to psychic manipulation, and above all, the ability to function through fear." Varric stared at the data and realized that the humans standing before him were not the same species that had joined the council 2 centuries ago. They had made themselves into something new, something designed for a single terrible purpose, and before he could respond, before he could demand explanations or threaten consequences, the crystal pillar began to pulse with urgent red light. "What is happening?" Counselor Mirith asked. Dr. Chai's face went pale as she read the data streaming across the pillar's surface. "The archive has detected a signal at the edge of the galaxy," she said. "The same signal that preceded the precursor extinction." Ambassador Park straightened her shoulders and met Varric's eyes with a calm that seemed impossible given what they had just learned. "The entity is coming," she said, "and humanity is ready."